Okay, so guys, we've got so many questions in this place, and I believe a lot of questions are still coming in, and we're going to be taking this now. I want to believe we have Jens, Fumi, and Dr. Isaac still on the call. Please, it's very important that you stand by because this section is for you. Woo. So, okay, the first question is to Fumi. Fumi, are you here? Please, Fumi and Dr. Isaac and Jens, please do well to unmute yourselves so that you can easily answer the questions as we ask. Thank you very much. Okay, so for me, we have just about 15 minutes for this section, so everybody's answer has to be very swift and to the point. Thank you, everyone. Okay, so for me, how can HND holders be exposed to scholarship? I think what this person is trying to ask is that how can an HND holder position himself or herself to actually get or access scholarships? So for me, please, could you quickly answer this question?
Can you hear me?
Yes, very well.
Okay. The person just has to get the relevant working experience, be it community service or maybe office work. Just ensure you get relevant working experience related to the opportunities you want to apply for. So you need to get the relevant one, and also ensure you have something to back up your. Don't just have a have something. Yes. I'm not talking about having questions. So just ensure you have.
Oh, thank you so much, Fumi. So basically, to position yourself for scholarship and any other opportunity globally, it is very important that you have something beyond your educational qualification. Even if you have a BSc or you have a first class, you still need something in addition to show that you're actually passionate about that thing which you are really have some relevant work experience, build yourself in the agents. This question, some kind of NGOs are incorporated by trustees, and you can't actually you can't do any social, you can't do any business venture, you can't generate revenue by yourself. So in such cases, what do you suggest? How does such NGO what does such NGO have to do, to actually generate income, revenue to run their NGO and their social impact organization? Jens, did you get me?
Your connection cut at the beginning, but I guess the question was just about how you can build a model around it, like the sustainable financial model.
Yes, something like that, but not exactly. How you can actually build a sustainable financial model when you can't generate income or revenue yourself as an NGO that is incorporated by trustee and is limited. You can't actually generate income by yourself. I guess that was the question.
Well, what we recommend is trying to build a model around financial independence. So building a strategy that can be relevant for any sort of either customers or other businesses as clients. And because this thing about just donating is just in decline and it's not going to keep sustainable. But nowadays you can actually build a lot with the technology that we already have at hand. So it's not like you have to come up with an innovation yourself. But I think a part of running an NGO and a startup always means that you have to give in a lot of time and not expect payment for a long time. That is just a part of the life when you're a social entrepreneur. I will always, of course, recommend you using our platform, where you can also get support from volunteers who have experience in building financial models and business development and general business strategy.
Thank you so much, James. Thank you so much. Okay, this question is to Fumi once more. How do you cope, or how do you handle rejections and scholarships and different applications, especially when you feel you met the requirements and all of that? How do you cope? How do you handle rejections? How do you bounce back again after you know that, we did meet most of the criteria?
Even if you don't know if you meet some of the criteria, because those people only know it. So when you have gotten a rejection email, just ensure that when next you're applying, you have something you need to add to that new application. something they will know, oh, this person applied last year and he was able to add something new. So don't just submit the last application you submitted. Make sure you add something new to the new application. Ensure you keep going and don't give up, because one success story cancels all rejection. That's all.
I was asking about networking that you have built. How do you ensure that these networks are sustained over a very long period of time? So that's the question, Dr. Isaac. Hello, Dr. Isaac, are you here? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay.
All right.
So
in terms of like networking and how to sustain projects a lot of time. So first, I would really want to say that you have to be building something for you to sustain your network. So you can't just really go for a conference and then you're not building anything, and then you think it's not easy to sustain network if you're not building. So I would just really use the analogy of somebody trying to build a house. Then the person went for a conference on how to effectively work on a house foundation, right? And then let us say the person comes back, and then the person is not doing anything again. So it means that the person won't have a need to communicate with the person that is maybe supplying the blocks or supplying bees. So that's how it is. So when you're building something, you effectively reach out to them and you keep working on a project. So most of the networks that have been able to sustain have been people that we effectively worked on projects later on, and that. But it's understandable you cannot sustain 100% of your connections, because not everybody that you have to build something with. So but build something.
Wow, thank you so much, Dr. Isaac. And that was straight to the point. So it's very important that you're building something to sustain your relationship. So, okay, another question we have here. If you are abroad and you have an NGO in Nigeria, how do you manage it, and how do you persuade the grant committee that your location as the team head does not affect your work back in Nigeria? I think Dr. Isaac would be in the best position to answer this question. It's not directed, but I feel Dr. Isaac, considering your location and all of that, would be in the best position to answer this question. So, Dr. Isaac, can you please take this question?
Okay, yes. So first is, yes, while you are abroad, the grants committee meets in the committee or something, wants to really see what work has the organization been doing even while you are away. That's one thing I feel that they will really want to do. So for you to really believe that they will be able to trust that you are able to do something while being team leader and while you're away, they will really want to see the effects of what your team members who are on the ground are doing while you are away. So for instance, while I've been while you are away, for instance, so just having an active organization, I don't think it should be like there should be any limitation or any limiting factor that would affect winning a grant, even if you are away, because they don't really care as much as you are really doing something. So usually what really happens is that while most NGO or impact leaders are away from the country, like usually activities really die down, from the organizational standpoint of view. And then usually winning grants and winning opportunities really comes from, we have been active in this space and then we want to do more. So I really hope that we can, so bridging that gap will really help a lot in ensuring that they trust in you.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Isaac. That was so profound. Okay, I'm just going to quickly take the following questions and then we'll round up this section because the questions are very important. Okay, so can you please elaborate more on the indices to measure your expected outcome or company progress per project? Like, is there a generic model for measuring and evaluating your project? And what are those models, or what are those indices? Can you please quickly give us an insight into that?
All right, so in terms of like measuring your project, like I said, it depends on what you want to really do. So, but they are just really general indices that you really look at when in terms of like measuring your project. So for instance, percentage of expected change. Like I think everybody's, only 5 students have been enrolled in that school, so we want to bring in 2 more students. So that's percentage of expected change is like 40%, because 2 over 5, the current one and all that. So that's like one of the major things. So the most one thing is just for you to be able to, the person, by what really wants to have a project, should check out, I use the word, like other projects in that similar field. So for instance, if it's climate change now, the indices will be different from what I would use if I'm doing a project, for instance, let us say it's on nutrition. Because in nutrition, I want to look at, okay, what number of students have we been able to feed? What percentage, has improved over the years? if it's climate change, I believe that they're going to be looking at like reduction in waste, and many other things, as according to their line. So there's always a language for your line. And that's why one thing, like I said, in terms of like personal leadership, is we in social impact leaders building ourselves. So you have to really go and check out the things down your line. What are the monitoring and evaluation indices in this field? If it's education, it's going to be different. Students completing schools, for instance, is going to be an index for education. So it's always line specific. It's not really generic. So apart from maybe very just interesting attributes like percentage change from what has been there before. And that is it.
Okay, so thank you so much, Dr. Isaac. So basically, it's very important for you to understand it from the point of value of, from the perspective of your field. So it's not the same across boards. Oh, thank you so much. All right. The next question quickly would be for Fumi, and I'm just going to. Okay, so Fumi asked the question, which is something I think I can just quickly. Sorry, there's a question for Fumi I meant to say, which is something I can quickly respond to, or we'll just have Sam respond to that. Okay, the question is talking about the work experience on some applications. As the speaker had said, updated experiences are the best hits to put down on applications. But as an undergraduate without much work history, does activities as an intern serve to represent work experience too? I'm just going to answer that straight up. Yes, it does. Most scholarship would ask you to put in your experience, and it doesn't matter if it's paid or unpaid. In fact, when it's unpaid and when it's voluntary, it shows how passionate and how serious you are about that area. So it really does represent, and it really does count. Okay, so just before you leave, James, please, could you quickly answer this question? When you're starting a new NGO, how much you be so streamlined? And as a starter, how much plans and ideas do you need to form before you start anything? Okay, so we're just going to merge that with the last question I'm going to take. Some applications demand for teaching experience, and if that will be attempted, should it be on academic basis or generalized teaching experience? And then finally, if you're leading a career in chemistry and you're leading an NGO in SDG4, which is not so related, how do you remedy for that lack of equilibrium? How do you persuade the grants committee, aside collaborating with people with education, degree, or experience? Is there any other way? Dr. Isaac, can you please answer this question? And I think that's the last question. Okay, just one more and then we're done.
Okay, so in terms of like how much it is for, like starting up an organization, I think starting up an organization is basically, like the word free of charge. So you just need to really rally up your brothers and your sisters and say, oh yeah, you believe what we want to do is we want to take this dog to mass, and basically, oh, we believe that this dog can go to mass, and that's like, it's as simple as that. Now, after doing that, you need to definitely do things like registration. So now you need money for registration, right? You have already assembled a group of 100 people. If it's 100,000, if you're in Nigeria, then you just need to tell them to pay 1,000 naira each. Like I said, starting up an organization is free. It's the same story almost by every, like not a Dangote foundation or one very big person's foundation and all that. So that's major thing. And then you just really formalize it and, ensure that you work within the ambit of the law so that you can really get big grants and all that. So I hope I've been able to answer that question. So you just really need people to believe in
very
you
much.
And the idea. So, and in terms of like, okay, somebody really finished from chemistry and is working on education. I mean, it's perfectly fine. I mean, you could finish from medicine and then you're working on climate change, And what I was trying to say is that you have to really build up the necessary expertise in that area. So you cannot just finish from medicine and say you want to work on climate change or chemistry, you want to work on whether, even chemistry and education is a little bit related, without having volunteered for a climate change organization. I don't know whether we get the point, or haven't worked or volunteered or interned in an educational organization. So that's like in terms of work experience, volunteer experience, internship experience, that's one area to look at it. The second area to look at it is education. So you could have gotten a certificate course, in climate change, and maybe you don't need to have a degree or something like that. You could have courses on Coursera, which you can always put in your application that, okay, these are your relevant experiences and these are your relevant coursework in this area. You could have attended conferences. So it's going to also be, you can say, oh, in this conference I attended and all that. You could do scientific publications, research, peer-reviewed and non-peer-reviewed publication in that area of that you really want to go into. That makes you an expert. That makes you an authority. So once I start publishing papers, for instance, on climate change in Africa, and many other things like that, I can really claim to also be an environmental, health advocate and many other things. So that's like how all these things really go. So it goes with the essence of, or it goes with you trying to also build your profile up in that area. So you would see quite a number of people that are not in that field, but are really doing relevant things in another field today. But if you really look at it, they have work experience, they have internship experience. I mean, you don't have to have everything, but as many as you have, the better it is in all this area. And then, I mean, you can do anything you set your mind to do.
Wow, I love that last statement. You can do anything, just about anything you set your mind to do. That's a very, very, very clear example, like Losoke said. Thank you so much, Dr. Isaac. I think there's just one more question, and then we'll wrap this up as I hand over to Samuel. Just before I hand over to Samuel, I'm going to say a few things after the question has been answered. So how do you choose between an academic learning platform and a career training apprenticeship with a fixed funding? Does anybody understand this question? Dr. Isaac, do you understand this question? If you do, please go ahead and answer, please.
Okay, since like the person is trying to say that, what do you pick in terms of like academic learning, or you work on a project, something like that? So I think that's one thing. The thing I really picked from this question. So in terms of academic learning and working on a project, so one major thing is that you cannot really rise above the level of your competency, and that's like really key thing. So you see some people, no matter how great you are, I mean, as a young person, you have to really add some competency so that you can really attain some position. So it depends on what area you are on that level. So for instance, you need experiences and you need competency. Sometimes even if you can do the job but you don't have that competence, then they will not give you that job. So for instance, because of different policies and different things. So for instance, they could say, oh, this thing is not for anybody that does not have a BSc or does not have this opportunity. If you don't have a something, if you have not maybe finished anything, if you have not studied anything biological related or something as a coursework, you cannot apply for this cancer in diversity program for Africa. So those are like ways where not having the would I use the word certificates really affects your opportunities in applications and all that. So while sometimes you may have some funding or you may have some projects that you're working on now, you may not always have it if you do not upskill or upgrade your competencies. I don't know whether you get it. So you have to now really choose, is there an academic learning experience that you need now, or you do have the work experience? But the truth is also that a work experience may always also beat the academic experience, because if by the time they say, oh, you have worked on this grant, nobody will even care again about sometimes about what's whether you are relatively qualified. So if you have to choose between both, depending on where you are, if you already have a lot of experiences, then you may actually pick the other one. But if you don't really have a lot of experiences are gold. Now really say that people should really choose the experiences and really deal with them effectively. So that's it.
Wow, thank you so much, Dr. Isaac. I mean, thank you so much for sticking till this time. Thank you so much. You guys, I want you to okay, somebody is asking where you can actually search out grants. Okay, I know one place. I know Fumi Opportunities World, and there's so many. I don't know if Dr. Isaac has any addition, but I know Opportunity Desk. I know Opportunities World. I know there is OIA, Opportunities for Young Africa. There's a whole lot of sites out there that puts up a lot of grants, a whole lot. And just a quick information: One Young World Summit application is currently going on for different sectors. Yes. So you can actually plunge into this, and apply. There's the one for education sector. I think the Deloitte scholarship. There's just a whole lot, and it's like a 4-day summit in Tokyo. And trust me, it's an amazing summit. I've read a whole lot, and Samuel here is an ambassador, so there's a whole lot you can actually learn. Even Dr. Isaac, you're also an ambassador, right?
Yes, I'm also an ambassador.
Yes, so there's a whole lot you can actually apply for on the internet. But I don't know if Dr. Isaac has any other addition.
Yeah, opportunities for Africa.
We need to run.
Opportunities for Africa. You can also check, Startup X. With usual Google too. You can also snowball into relevant opportunity websites, such as like One Young God. One Young God has a whole lot of opportunities to share. We have some, for instance, if you like to work with UN agencies and all, but you have a careers opportunity profile. We have several other opportunity platforms that you can always use to check for grants and to check for awards and many other things, for your organization and for yourself personally.
Thank you so much, Dr. Isaac. Thank you so much. So you guys have heard this, so many opportunity for Africa, opportunity desk, and so many. So you have to be building something to sustain a network. Don't forget, and it's very important for you to give value to your network. And I would like to say this as I wrap up, inviting Samuel to take over. It is very, very important for you to know that we are the only generation so far with all the resources, with all that we need to make changes, and our actions are actually very valid. When we put in the work, we would actually see the change that we so desire. So I want you to know that as a young person at this time, this is just like your best opportunity. The fact that you are young and you're actually you're actually given birth to in this season, in this generation. I mean to say you're a member of this generation. It's very important for you to know that you can actually make the world a better place in your own little way. It doesn't matter if the only thing you're doing is to actually help 10 young persons get quality education in one village in Ekiti State. It doesn't matter if that's all you're doing. You're doing a whole lot. Those 10 persons who get quality education can actually make the world a better place when they go into different spaces. So I want you to know that social impact is very, very key to sustaining the world, to making the world a better place. I preach SDG, and I tell you, if there is anything at all you want to do, just make sure it's aligning with the Sustainable Development Goals, and boom, you would find yourself scaling height and seeing so many opportunities that you can actually put up for and do amazingly well with. Just make sure you put in the work. Thank you so much, guys, for having me. I'm so excited to be your host in this wonderful maiden edition of the Impact Leaders Connect. I hope we'll do this together.